Hi, good day. My name is Vince Warque, and I'm going to discuss about instructional materials in education. And this is by Ms. Kaisa Nurul Siakur binti Yusuf. So why is it important to discuss about instructional materials in education? Because instructional materials in education technically simplifies the role of a teacher, and this is like somehow a tool for teachers to use so that they can really convey their like information and learnings towards their students in an efficient way. So under this lesson, these are the contents under the topic: a guide to selection of instructional materials, the roles of instructional materials in different teaching situations, different types of instructional materials available today, and selecting appropriate materials specific purposes. So let's start. So the first subtopic is the guidance in the selection of instructional materials. So let's focus first on the instructors, of course. So instructors must be familiar with the content of all media used in instruction. Of course, a teacher should always have the knowledge regarding specific media that they would be using towards their students, so that the students would be able to really understand it. And that's technically the purpose of these instructional materials, is for the students to literally grasp the lessons. Next is select only instructional media that are consistent with student capabilities and learning styles. So of course, you as a teacher or an instructor, you should be able to check these materials so that it somehow benefits the students pretty well. So this is the continuation of the previous slide. So guidance in the selection of instructional materials. So again, instructors must be chosen objectively. So you as a teacher or an instructor, you are responsible to check the media that you will be using, that it somehow aligns with the objective that you would want the student to understand. Next is chosen on the basis of their contributions to the learning outcome. So of course, this is pretty understandable. So if you would want a specific goal or an objective, so of course you as a teacher should choose the media that you will be using that caters, or like somehow that would hit your specific goal or your objective. Next is produced locally by instructor, usually make significant contributions to learning. So of course, somehow the instructor should formulate these media that a teacher should be using in order for the students to learn. Next is follow learning activities, and yeah, this is pretty understandable, so I need not to literally expound it. Next is appropriate to the teaching formats being used. So of course, the media that you will be using towards your students, or the instructional materials that you will be using should have its format, and it should be very appropriate so that the student would be able to grasp the intended purpose that you would want them to understand. In this slide, a teacher should bear these words in mind. First is purpose. So why do you need purpose when you are providing instructional materials? So of course, purpose is very important, because it would be pointless if you are providing instructional materials that doesn't even align to your lessons. So yeah, that's why it's very important. Next is flexibility. So when we say flexibility, does your instructional materials flexible enough to cater all of your students? So it should answer that. Next is development. So of course, these instructional materials does not just like an added spice to your discussion, but rather it enriches the development, or it enhances the development of your students. And of course, the most important one is guide learners. So guide learners is technically about providing instructional materials that of course guides your students, and that's you as a teacher should have that kind of a priority if you are teaching. Next is objectives. Again, your instructional material should have its own objectives so that it somehow aligns to the curriculum you are handling or you are teaching your students with. Next is diversity. So of course, your instructional materials should not discriminate, and of course it should cater all of the students that you are handling. So through your instructional materials that you are providing the students with, so should cater the needs of the students, of course, all students. Next is content. The content of your instructional materials should somehow, yeah, again, align to your objective or to the lessons that you want your students to understand. So in this slide, we are talking about 3 basic classes of instruction methods and its roles in different teaching learning systems. So the first one is individualized instructions. So an example for this is directed study, open learning, distance learning, programmed learning, mediated self-instruction, and computer-based learning. So from the word itself, individualized. So this is student's responsibility, one student's responsibility to teach himself about the lessons. So the role of a teacher here is the producer or the manager of resources, or a tutor and a guide. So again, since it is individualized, so a student should work with himself, and if there is like a problem with a certain thing, a student should raise it to the teacher immediately, because since it's individualized, if you are a student and you are confused with something, you should raise it to your teacher, which knows about the things that you are confused with. Next is group learning. So group learning, the example for this is tutorials, seminars, group exercises and projects, games and simulations, self-help in groups. So this is very basic for us, because of course group learning is that you somehow collaborate with a group, work with your group, and do things or school works with a group. So the role of a teacher here is the organizer and the facilitator. So you as a teacher should have or formulate or create activities that can be worked in a group. So next is mass instruction. Conventional lecture, the example for this rather is conventional lectures and expository lessons, television and radio broadcasts, films. And the role of the teacher here, or the trainer, is traditional expository role and controller of instruction process. So given from its keyword that it's mass instruction, so this is learning with, of course, a mass. And through this, there are a lot of like television showing, radio broadcasts, and you would be watching films, all in all. And you as a teacher, your responsibility is the controller of instruction process. So you provide these materials so that the mass or your students would be learning something from it, and they would be able to understand the topic pretty well. So on this part, we are now hopping on selecting suitable materials, specific purposes. Let's start. So on this part, I have here a framework that technically explain this subtopic. First is, what educational objectives or learning outcomes do you want to achieve? So it follows the description of what basic instructional strategy or strategies do you think would be most suitable for achieving these objectives or outcomes with the people you will be working with, taking account of all relevant factors. So of course, you as an instructor should bear in mind these 4 ways that you can impart or like teach your students. Is it in a method of mass instruction? Is it in a method of individualized learning? Is it in a method of group learning? Or is it in a method of direct experience? So we have tackled this in the previous slide, that somehow these 4 methods can be used to teach or impart knowledge towards your students, you as an instructor should also be familiar with these four methods that you can use to facilitate your students. Again, mass instruction is teaching students simultaneously, all students simultaneously. Individualized learning is letting a student learn for himself, and group learning is grouping students and for them to collaborate in a group, and their experience somehow new. It is about acquiring knowledge by fully and directly participating in an activity. So these four methods can be used to really integrate the learning a student would be getting. So you should be very mindful about this. So we are now hopping on the specifications. So what are the types of instructional materials? First is printed and duplicated materials. So these are technically books or like printed materials that can, or hard copy that a student would be learning from it. Next is non-projected display materials. So these are like physical visual aids. So the good thing about this is, of course, you would be able to obtain this by writing something on a paper and pasting it on a board. So that is an example of non-projected display materials. Or let's say, for example, you are having a report in your school, you as a student. So of course, you have your own pencil pen and you write it on a cartolina or on a manila paper, and you write your topic about it and you paste it on your board and discuss to everyone your topic. So that's one example or a concrete example of non-projected display materials. Next is still projected display materials. So this can be through like PPT presentations that can be played through or using the projectors or a television inside the school. So that's not new because of course technology nowadays is very rampant and very profound, and we are currently using it in our daily lives, especially we are now in distance learning, of course. Next is technological instructional media. So of course media, it's a plural form of medium, so we are getting a lot of information from a lot of things such as computers, and of course since it's technological, this can be from a computer, from a television, or a teacher teaching or using projector to give out information about a certain topic or to let students learn technically. So on this slide, we are now talking about the different types of instructional materials that are available today. And so these are the materials in technology. First is technology offers the possibility of alternative materials and classroom interaction. So of course, through technology, we are now able to learn a specific lesson in a very convenient way and an immediate way, and that's actually it lasts on the students, and of course it lessens the burdens on teachers' back. And next is after audio and video cassettes, the next major technological change was the use of computers and the internet. We all know how important internet is because we are able to access information to the internet, like by researching it, and if you have internet, you are able to access to a lot of information, and that you are able to learn through internet or by using internet. Next is the internet is bringing further changes as courses can now be downloaded from all over the world. That's very true because of course our lessons are can be found in the internet already, and by just like a few clicks, then you are able to access to a lot of lessons that you would be potentially learning, and that's a plus and a very convenient way for a student to actually learn. So we are almost finished. Now let's talk about the online tools, the online tools for teaching and learning. So I'm just going to discuss about to you the most famous instructional materials that is present today. So first is Kahoot. So what is Kahoot? A free student response tool for administering quizzes, facilitating discussions, or collecting survey data. It is a game-based classroom response system played with the whole class in real time. So Kahoot, you as an instructor can utilize this to conduct a quiz, gather a data for your survey, and many more. Next is Plickers. So what is Plickers? Plickers is an assessment tool which allows teachers to collect on-the-spot formative assessment data through online games and lessons. So this is an assessment tool that that a teacher or an instructor can use to somehow check or like gauge or like assess your students through online games and lessons. Next is Edpuzzle, a free assessment-centered tool that allows teachers and students to create interactive online videos by embedding either open-ended or multiple-choice questions, audio notes, audio tracks, or comments on a video. So Edpuzzle is a well-rounded website or an application that can be used by a teacher to facilitate or provide as a instructional material towards the students. Next is Classkick, a free digital formative assessment tool that allows teachers to create lessons and assignments that students work through on their devices at their own pace. So this application is actually very beneficial towards the teacher, because somehow a teacher can create lessons and assignments already that can be worked on by the students, and it's very convenient and very fun to utilize. So these are the 6 instructional materials that is present today. First is Padlet. What is Padlet? It is a virtual bulletin board in which collaborators can simultaneously create and organize posts of any content type, whether it be text, documents, images, videos, links, and etc. So this is like a virtual bulletin board, and a lot of students can learn from it. Since of course it is bulletin board, you are able to acquire information through a bulletin board. It depends on the topic though. Next is Schoology. Schoology is an online learning management system. It is an LMS that allows educators to organize curriculum, create lesson plans, and provide student assessments. So this can be used by a university, because this is a learning management system that technically holds everything, like conduct quizzes, student assessment, and create lesson plans, and of course organizing curriculums. Next is Quizlet. So Quizlet takes information and converts it into flashcards, quizzes, and games, so that users can study the same information in a variety of forms. So this is a very fun way of actually developing a quiz or like taking a quiz, because of course it provides flashcards. Can you imagine flashcards conveyed on your screen? So we are so used to having flashcards physically, but Quizlet provide it for us, for students to learn in a fun way, and for teachers to somehow like challenge or like assess the students' learning. Next is Canva, of course, can be used to create a variety of images, including event flyers, resumes, cards, certificates, and infographics. So Canva is like a PowerPoint presentation, but better, because this is a tool that you can use in creating a lot of things like resume. There are actually templates that can be used that would help or integrate or elevate your creativity even more, and you would be able to provide quality outputs. Next, YouTube, of course, a free tool that allows you to create, collect, and organize videos around specific topics or interest. You know what? YouTube is a very powerful tool, because not only you can find leisure or find entertainment through this application, but you are also able to learn, because a lot of instructional videos can be found here. Let's say, for example, you are having an online class and you are having a hard time solving a math equation. You can actually learn from YouTube, because there are a lot of videos that you can watch from and literally learn from it. Lastly is Muslim Kids TV, the first Islamic internet TV for children to spend time learning about Islam, enjoy interactive games, download and print educational resources. So it's actually a fun way of learning your religion and the entirety about Islam, and it provides enjoyable interactive games, and you can download and print educational resources for regarding a specific topic. Once again, this is Vince here in Warque. This is the end of my presentation. I hope you were able to gather a lot of information regarding this topic. Laban, future educators.